Mike Loftus. I'm the owner of the Ottawa Pinball Arcade. And basically this has been my vision, well, more or less since a child when this stuff was all new. I'm basically recreating a portal to the late 70s, early 80s, the golden era of the arcade when pinball ruled the streets like iPhones do now.
Adjoined to a friendly bar known as the Neighborhood Pub, this arcade comes from a passion Mike has pursued his whole life.
Both my uncles owned machines when I was a kid. So from the time I was 4 years old in 1969, I had a stool in my uncle's basement that I could crawl up to his Buckaroo pinball machine and play. And then a couple of years later, I was in Florida with my grandparents. They had an arcade in their trailer park, and there was a Captain Fantastic, which became my sort of immediate realization that pinball was the coolest thing in the world, next to maybe Led Zeppelin. But it was a close race. And in any event, since that point, you know, it's kind of been my thing. The pinball scene when I was a kid, if you can imagine walking down any downtown street like Rideau or Bank Street and there's a tattoo parlor every other block or every block, well, they were arcades when I was a kid. And, you know, weekends would consist of getting on my bicycle or bus, heading downtown, playing the newest games. It was literally about that. I ran a construction company doing water damage restoration and mold remediation for 25, almost 30 years. This wire is broken off, as you can see. So right now I'm just jumping it with my alligator clip. If this was an episode of MacGyver, this would be the end of the episode. They'd start rolling the credits in about 30 seconds. I'd have to make some kind of wisecrack, you know. While I did always have a side pinball hobby business that I ran, it kind of peaked and went up and down. And only after I retired 4 years ago that I decided to actually do this full time. And I actually converted my corporation into a pinball company instead of a contracting firm. So we are planning on expanding the main arcade itself and adding another 10 combination of 10 pinball machines and classic arcade video games, as well as a shop in the back where we're actually going to move our repair and sales department to an actual retail location here at the back of the arcade.
On Wednesday evenings, the room comes alive. Locals flock to the arcade for a night of all-you-can-play pinball. Free Play Night provides a natural opportunity for Mike to discover developing problems in the machines and to stress test games he plans to sell. Quirks, such as stuck balls or electrical glitches, are all part of the uniquely tactile pinball experience.
We will come back and fix it properly.
Last night, Mike kept Free Play Night running by playing MacGyver. The next morning, there's time for a more permanent fix.
I've always tinkered with electronics ever since I was a kid. I was the kind of kid that would take apart radios to figure out how they were put together. And honestly, most of it was trial and error, self-taught, just experimenting, learning them. And of course, with the advent of the internet, it's become a heck of a lot easier to figure out just about anything if you want to put your mind to it and put the effort into it. And ultimately, I mean, you know, you'll hear some people making it sound like pinball repair guys are some kind of mystical being, like, you know, you need to be some kind of advanced engineer. The reality is the job qualification to be a pinball technician during the golden era was being willing to drop out of school and work for minimum wage. So that it isn't rocket science. It's layers of simple complication, and like anything else, once you become familiar with a system and its common failures, it's just a matter of practice at the end of the day. So really that's what it is, putting in the hours. I'm not as much of a cosmetic upgrader as some people, you know. There's a lot of spinal tappy people with pinball, you know. It's got to shine, it's got to be polished, we're going to chrome plate it, we're going to clear coat it. Stuff that I never even had when it was new, you know. It's like, don't even look at it, don't even breathe on it, it's never been played. You know, it's spinal tappy. For me, I think of it more as like a hot rodder. You know, I'm taking an old shell of a, you know, say a 69 Corvette, but I'm dropping the powertrain of a brand new Tesla into it. So it's contemporized performance and durability-wise, but it still maintains the classic aesthetic that you can't get anymore. You don't have to do this. You know, like not everybody has to have a ridiculously fast car, but if you want to, this is how you make them do it. Really, it's just a matter of keeping pinball going. I mean, it disappeared for decades, which is what got me into originally collecting. Okay, so we cross our fingers and use your nose. The nose. Oh, that's a good sign and a good sound. There we go. I started off buying machines just because there was nowhere to play them anymore. And now with the resurgence in pinball as a nostalgic, you know, outlet for 50-something kids to get back to their youth, you know, it seemed like it was the right time to bring all this stuff back out and share it.
To the skilled hobbyist, repair is straightforward and fun, often resembling a puzzle. But one thing's for certain, servicing so many machines requires a lot of space, more than the arcade can currently provide.
Right now we are sitting in my home, which has been the location of the Pinball Medics facility for the last few years. This is actually supposed to be a dining room behind me. This is the only game that belongs in the upper level of the house. And ultimately we're just preparing for the arcade expansion. This is basically all going to be gone. It sprawls from the entire, you know, 1,500 square foot basement. This is where the real magic starts to happen. The subterranean bowels of the Pinball Medics repair facility. The parts room, where the online parts store is stocked. So you'll see all kinds of lovely parts and boxes of parts and stuff. And I had to take out a closet and expand it into what was previously a spare bedroom, which is now more the packing room. It allows for more parts, more shelving and individual parts. This is the main workshop. You'll see there's a few games in the queue here. This house just keeps getting overfilled. A couple of other extra games that are going to be prepared for the arcade shortly as well. A classic from my youth, my mid to late 1970s. 12-year-old self pumped quarters into this endlessly. When I first started Pinball Medics, this was it. Everything fit in here. The entire double garage. As often I do load pinball machines the night before for delivery the next day, and I can keep them in here climate controlled and safe. Usually this place is bursting at the seams, but right now we're down to only a couple of pinball machines, a video game, and a really wicked video game, which I'm absolutely dying to get into the arcade with the expansion. One of my all-time favorite childhood games is Sprint 2. Very, very simple game, but incredibly addictive and fun. We're slowly preparing for the exodus so that this can become more of a private home again, and the arcade can become the repository for all these awesome items. Somehow I have a feeling the place is just going to fill up again anyway, so probably just an exercise in futility.
Like any art studio, the garage brims with potential for new creation. Each machine restored means the preservation of the visual, mechanical, and engineering artistry shown by the pinball designers of the Golden Age. It's an art form that has evolved over time, and Mike's establishment represents each stage of pinball evolution.
In the beginning, pinball, it was considered to be gambling light, sort of a way of perhaps getting the youth desensitized or turned on to gambling, so they would later go spend money in casinos. So at some point, to circumvent the laws that had been put in place to prevent these gambling devices from being used, they put the flipper in the games. It precipitated the advent of that, which was obviously probably the most important part of pinball as we know it today. That's what puts the player interactive with the game. We went from, you know, early electromechanical technology in the mid-70s, suddenly to solid-state technology with digital displays and computer-controlled memory, etc. Multi-ball speech came along a couple of years later. It was just advancing at breakneck speed, and it was just like a hit single, you know. The hot item was in the back of the room 3 months later with the new chart topper at the front of the arcade with lines of quarters as far as you could see. When I started playing pinball in the late 60s, as like a 3 or 4 year old, it was all electromechanical. So it meant rollover digits. It meant, you know, simpler games. This volley, for example, is a single player game. Only one person can play at a time. There's no transistors, no solid state electronics whatsoever. Everything in here is based on relay logic, switches. It's basically a giant game of mousetrap. There was no way to remember game state between players in a multiplayer game. So the single player games, you could have an objective that you could chase throughout the entire game. With these single player games, typically you'd have something like, say, knocking down all the drop targets to light your special, which stays lit for the rest of the game, allowing you to keep on winning games until that game's over and you have to light your special again.
The solid state era brought about the dawn of alphanumeric displays.
These machines had not only numbers, but letters as well, which could change the objectives and give you more rule depth, because the game could actually point out to you what to do. Whereas in the older games, the objectives were pretty straightforward. Hit the thing when the light's lit. It still does work that way, actually. But at the end of the day, these allowed for more features in the games.
And eventually, dot matrix displays.
These have also been converted to multicolor LED displays. In the mid-90s, these would have just been straight orange, like the original plasma displays were at the time. This was, until quite recently, the same overall platform that all pinball were using. Now, the newest new pinball machines, like within the last few years, have actually advanced to LED screens with, you know, advanced animation. There is a chance that some of them might start working their way in here.
In each machine, these technologies come together to give a challenging and compelling play experience, with each game having a unique goal and set of objectives. Long before video games came on the scene, the silver ball was the original player avatar. Bold artwork completes each game's theme by telling its story.
All of the art back in the golden era would have been hand done. A lot of it was subject to censorship, shall we say, due to perhaps somewhat racy artwork at times. But at the time, that was just, you know, the media environment we were living in. And this art, to me, really reflects the time in a very interesting way, because it is commercial art, yet it also reflects the pop culture and the sensibilities of the youth and the adults that they were trying to appeal to with this artwork. So it's kind of an interesting time capsule in the mindset of the, say, collective subconscious of, you know, Western society at that time.
And many tables, of course, need a gimmick. A reversed subterranean playfield, some beacons to lure in players from across the room, or a pair of animated, bantering demolition workers.
Hey, look, Ted, Mardi Gras!
I knew I should have brought more than one t-shirt.
And even 40 years later, an arcade such as Mike's is able to captivate the community.
I was just driving by one day, I saw they had, in the window we had like a painting, whatever, pinball Wednesday nights. So, you know, I need a little break from the wife and kids, you know what I mean? I was like, yeah, I'll come here, I like pinball. Bring the kids here all the time. I've got a 14-year-old that absolutely loves coming here. She'll get warmed up and then she'll start beating me, and she gets into my head, you know what I mean? Because she's a 14-year-old girl, and then before I even know it, she's like walked away, beat me 10 games in a row, so she really likes that. The youngest one that I bring here is 6. She stands on a stool, has no idea what she's doing, but like the lights are flashing, I'm having fun, she's having fun, her sister's having fun. Yeah, good deal.
We always have new people coming in, you know, that haven't even heard of the place yet. You know, they can't imagine that there's a place with 1 million pinball machines in it right in the middle of Ottawa available to be played. So, you know, it's a gradual thing. Part museum, part arcade, so it's not like we're expecting crowds in here. It's more about the quality of the experience and allowing people to experience something that hasn't been available for 30 years.
Meanwhile, work on the expansion is already well underway.
We've come really close to finishing the renovations in the back. We finished installing the bathroom, we finished cleaning out the entire area, and now we're just preparing to actually paint the ceiling tiles and the walls, take down the wall, and add the additional games. This room will become the new extension of the arcade, and will be a continuation of the room we just left. And this area back here will become our actual workshop and the Pinball Medics repair facility. If you take a look this way as we come through here, this orange line was the old wall. This was the back of the arcade. And this section here is the new section that we'd been speaking of. So basically it allows us another 10 games, about 35% more pinball and video action. A lot of the games you'll remember from before, some you've seen at the shop that were being prepared. Cleared out this area and basically moved the entire shop here. So now we're selling parts retail right out of the back of the arcade. Here, it does feel like you're going to work. And when you're here, you do get work done because it's a lot easier to just go take a nap when you're at home. Being here, just working in the environment, the sounds of the games being played, the change machine, the coins dropping, the music from the jukebox, it's a much more pleasant working environment, much less sterile. So the main change has just really been that it's made my work, which was already a lot of fun, even more fun.
After construction, cleaning, and many hours getting these classic pins game ready, the expansion is complete. It's the latest addition to the Ottawa Pinball Arcade, the product of years of dedication to a dream.
Does anyone discourage me? Many have tried, in fact. I've had my setbacks. I've had, you know, resistance from people and places I would have never expected. And sometimes it is discouraging when, you know, you're trying to provide something that is, you know, nostalgic and emotional to myself and to the people that I'm sharing it with. It can be discouraging when your efforts are frowned upon, whether it's, you know, greed, jealousy, or whatever other reasons people may have for not wanting someone else to succeed. But ultimately, as I say, every setback only provides more enlightenment and ultimately encouragement as I wake up every day, and like a phoenix, every new day provides a new opportunity. And taking something away, it can't stay away. The passion for this stuff is in me. Like, it comes from when I was a kid. You would literally have to cut my head off and suck it out of me somehow. I don't think occult technology has developed to that level yet to be able to actually do that. The Pope himself, good luck. Pinball, as it was for me as a very young child, was an immediate, I would almost say, obsession or addiction. And now, sometimes seeing the younger generation come in and pick up on it immediately, just like I did, it really does transcend time. And of course, seeing the older generation come in who haven't maybe even experienced a room full of pinball machines for 20, 30 years, there's just as an amazing of an experience seeing them come back to their youth. And everyone in between, you know, 20-something, 30-something, 40-something, we pretty much see it all. My end goal is to live forever and never get, no, sorry, you can edit that out. Sorry, really, I don't have an end goal. I'm just kind of doing this as I go. It's what I want to do, it's what I feel, and I will continue to expand it, to explore other avenues, to experience it and share the experience in different ways and continue to grow this portal into the past.
fully in control of all this metal and plastic. You'll be slicker than the flipper and the kicker elastic. So follow me and you'll be on your way to becoming something of a flippin' wizard today. Making nuggets go smack when it's free plays. Record scores more stacks than a backlash beam. Step 1, get control there, son, cause if the ball is ricocheting, then you ain't got none. I said, ooh, step 2,